Mansfield today with Melanie just cleaning all the cat fur off of her.
I suddenly realised I'm full of stuff. Well, it's not from him.
No.
No. He won't get that up close and personal, which I find very sad.
No, I would never.
Oh, come on.
And even if I did look at my hair, there's nothing there to get onto you.
Yeah, I think it was one of his grey hairs there. Yeah, I've got this wonderful spray, by the way, which you can cover your grey with.
I'm not worried about covering my grey. I'm not worried about my grey.
Aren't you?
No, it makes me look distinguished.
You think?
Yeah.
It doesn't make me look distinguished. I'm quite happy to keep it covered.
Yeah,
and that's what, by the way, that's what we should be doing with our gardens.
What?
Keeping them covered.
Oh, I thought you meant taking the grey hairs out.
And taking out all the stuff which is like dying.
No, I've heard about this before. Tell me about covering your garden and what you should be covering, because it's not everything.
No.
It's not take a big duvet and...
Well, unless you're going to go and live out in the garden with it, in a nice sunny spot.
Not in this cold, thank you.
No, sheesh. I mean, walking this past weekend was just absolutely a lesson in fortitude.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so cold that I felt like my cheekbones had frozen. I was made out of a little piece of ice. But I had long sleeves on, so at least I could keep my fingers warm. Now, that's the thing that you want to be doing in winter, okay, is remembering that it's that cold in the garden. And no, I mean, plants are basically used to living in cold temperatures. Mm-hmm. But you do need to put some of them to bed. And I like that. The beds are being put to bed.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, we always talk about what to do, and it always comes back to the same thing. Mulch, 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 mulch. Yeah? Mm-hmm. So you can use a nice thick layer of mulch, whatever you have to hand, whether you're using compost or you're using bark chips or you use even shredded newspaper, okay, to try and keep a little bit of warmth, mm-hmm, as well as keeping the weeds at bay and conserving moisture, because you don't want to be watering too much, because we're still at that stage around the country where you're only allowed to water. I think in winter it's like up until 8 o'clock in the morning and from 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And you don't want to be watering your plants late in the afternoon. So getting up at 8 o'clock in the morning is one thing, okay? But it is like you want to try and not do it too often. Mm. And also there's a whole bunch of stuff that you don't want to be watering at this time of the year because they go dormant, which especially the one thing, do you have kikuyu? What kind of grass do you have?
We've got a little bit of kikuyu.
Okay. You don't water it during winter, do you?
No.
No, good boy. Do not water your kikuyu or other grasses that go dormant in winter to try and keep it green. That is not normal, and it's a waste of water, and you don't give the plants like that time that they need just to actually chill out. Okay.
How would you like it if you're a little piece of grass and all you want to do is go...
And these damn people keep on coming and waking you up.
And they wake you up the whole time. It's like sleep deprivation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, when we get to the time when you should be doing stuff with your grass, then we'll let you know. But for now, leave it.
Yeah.
Just leave it. Okay, other grasses, you can give them a little bit of high nitrogen fertilizer before you kind of, leave that alone as well, but just keep your watering regime up. The only thing that you should be frittling with at this stage, of course. Frittling. You frittle, when you frittle with things.
I love that word.
Yeah, it's a great word.
Yeah.
The only thing you should be frittling with are your bulbs, which we talked about a couple of weeks ago. Because your bulbs need to get water and they need the cold, your winter bulbs. And people say, well, why can't I just leave them in the ground? Well, they need the cold to wake them up again. Okay, when it starts getting warmer. So at the moment they're sitting there, they're checking things out, they're getting themselves, their roots are pulling around. Can you see it all happening underground? Yeah. You give them water 4 times a week, okay? And then you see the shoots coming up, that's when you start feeding them. That's the only thing you should frittle with, okay? He likes this thing. But it's also a good time to move, like if you look at your garden, you see the leaves are coming off because they're deciduous or whatever, and it's winter's coming. I think winter's here, but anyway.
Yeah, me too.
Things are going dormant, so it's a good time to move the shrubs and trees that might be in the wrong place. Not big trees, obviously, unless you have a crane. But if you've put a tree or a shrub in a place and then you're looking at it in the bare bones of your garden and thinking, yeah, it doesn't really work there, this is a good time to move it because it's going dormant, but it'll still have a bit of time to kind of settle into the soil, but it's not in an active growth phase, so it's not going to phase it too much. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, so I mean, there are all these little bits and pieces that you do. And once again, it'll go back to making sure that your garden is well tamped down. So if you've been a clever person during autumn, you've collected all of those wonderful leaves and you put them into bags, and now you have leaf mold, which you just plonk on top of all of the beds. I know that everybody sits in there. They pull all their leaves and they put them in the bags and then they throw them into the trash. Silly. I mean, now you have to go out and buy compost. What was the point of throwing all the leaves away? Do you agree?
Absolutely.
Is there anything you want to know specifically about what you should be doing in your garden?
Veggie gardens.
Veggie gardening. Yeah. It's almost time for a complete changeover. As I said before, we always have these people who are coming in and going, I want some tomatoes now. I'm like, no, you can't have them. But what? I want peppers. No, can't have them.
Go down to the Pick and Pay.
Yeah, go and buy them from the shop because you're not going to grow them now because it's the wrong season.
Yeah.
So now we're going into the season of all the brassicas. The brassicas are all of your, the ones that make your smells go, the farty ones. Brussels sprouts, cabbage, cauliflower, broccoli, all of those, the ones that make gas. Okay. That's the time for planting all of those, all your cruciferous veggies, the ones that have got like almost a cross in the bottom so you can see what they're like. And that also includes, surprisingly, your spinaches, Swiss chard, all of those. You can plant all of those out. Radishes you can do all year round. There's a whole bunch of stuff. If you want to, it's a bit late to be chitting potatoes right now. You should have done that already.
Whatting potatoes?
You chit them. You don't know what chitting a potato is?
No.
Okay, so you take a potato, your seed potato, and you know where the eyes are, where they start growing. That's where you can cut them off, okay? And then you plant that part of the potato where the eye is.
It's called chitting.
It's called chitting, yeah.
I've never, ever heard of that.
You learn something new every day, Jeremy. Isn't that fantastic? So veggie gardens, I mean, everything that you need to put into those healthy soups. And I make chicken soup for the soul, and it just gets filled up with lots of fresh veggies, cruciferous veggies from my garden, and especially cabbage soup. Cabbage soup is so good for you, okay? And putting in Chinese greens as well. So you make yourself a little stir fry with the Chinese greens, fresh from the garden, some herbs. You can put some herbs in at the moment. So there's a lot that you can be growing during the winter months, okay? Just not summer vegetables. So those are the ones that I would suggest that you do right now. And of course, you can do most of them in pots as well.
Yeah, really, I suppose the winter vegetable garden is very similar to a pot of soup.
Yeah.
Would I put this in a pot of soup? Yes. Right, plant it.
Yeah. You can try carrots in pots as well. Make sure you've got very well-drained soil. I'd just rather buy carrots, to be honest with you, because mine never get particularly big. But they're nice when you get them in. They're nice and sweet. Yeah. But they're only like we used to pull them out when we were kids when they were about this big. But I still think of those as more of a summer crop.
Yeah.
And
they're more salady than anything else.
Yeah, and you can grow some garlic out now as well. And you can do, as I say, in a pot. Even if you don't have a garden, you can grow a lot of these things. Just put it in a sunny spot on your balcony or patio or even your windowsill.
I had an aunt who lived in Ganubi.
By East London there.
There. And she, after her husband died and the kids had all left home, she downsized to a one-bedroom, beautiful little home in a retirement village. And she didn't have a garden. She'd always had a garden. And she didn't have one. But my holy Kawali, she created out of pots on one little area in her stoep going up. She created this most beautiful, well, I always used to think of it as a fountain.
A flower fountain.
Yeah. And what she'd done is she'd put in the right flowers with the right veggies.
Yeah.
And so you couldn't really see that there were veggies growing there. There was just this greenery. And I'll never forget the first time I discovered her veggies was she said, right, lunch, I've done this as the main course, and we're going to have a nice green salad with it.
And she went outside and started picking everything.
And I followed her outside for whatever reason. I was probably bored with my mother speaking. And I followed her outside, and from amongst these beautiful little flowers that were just happily growing there, she started snipping Swiss chard and
Lettuce and all that, yeah.
and all of that. And she came inside and she did a beautiful salad. And I said to her, won't your salads run out? And she said, no, my boy. She said, that's enough salad there to get me through to winter.
Yeah. Cut and come again, which is a wonderful way of doing it. So sure, when you've got something like a cabbage, you're going to need to take the whole cabbage off.
Yeah.
Or if you've got a cauliflower, you take the whole head of cauliflower. If it's too much for you, go and share it with other people as well. I mean, or donate it to a soup kitchen as well. And we should all actually be growing our own stuff. We all have enough space somewhere in a sunny spot to actually grow something. So I have all my herbs going the whole way through winter. And it's almost time for lavender shortbread. So you take the buds of the one kind, the lavender dentata, which is the English lavender, and you get those buds and you chop them up finely and you put it into the mix when you make shortbread. And that's what you can do as well at the time. And of course, lavender, lovely flowers, attracts the bees, so does rosemary. So all of those things, but using flowers, edible flowers as well. Although we're going into pansies and violas at the moment, which are edible as well. And then the color that you get from like that red mustard, that big Chinese mustard, and it's that deep maroon red. And then Swiss chard, which has got, the bright lights, which is yellow and green and red all together. So you can use those to enhance flower colors and plant them everywhere. You don't have to have a dedicated veggie patch. Just grow something. That's all I'm saying. Grow something and share. Because sharing is caring.
Grow something and share. The immortal words of one M. Walker.
Yeah, don't bogart your herbs, eh? Sorry.
It is time for you to go away.
I'm going away now, bye. Back to my garden.
So am I.
Gnomely grommet. Here we go.
Gnomely grommet.
Yeah, I'm a little gnome. I'm a gnomon. I sit in the middle of a sundial. Gnomon.
Gnomely grommet. From the Gnomely grommet and Shrek. Have a wonderful week. We'll catch you again next week.
Take it easy.
Bye-bye.